I was thinking this afternoon about what to say about Brendan. I was looking through a paper by one of my students, and I'm still an English teacher. I felt compelled to correct the student. The person said something was very, very unique. And of course, that's wrong, isn't it? If something's unique, it's unique and that's it. But I thought of Brenda, certainly. If anyone is very, very unique, it's Brenda. I have heard her read on a number of occasions, and I can promise you that she is not only one of the best poets around, but simply one of the best readers. And if we live in an era that many people have characterized as the era of the Mac poem, like Big Mac, she serves up a very special Brenda fare. We're lucky to have her this semester again as visiting writer in residence. She has taught at a number of different universities. She is New Orleans native and graduate of Dillard University. And this last fall, LSU Press brought out her fourth book of poems, New and Selected Poems. She has also been a fellow at the Bunting Institute at Harvard and has read her poems really all throughout the United States. Here she is, the very, very unique Brenda Briosky.
The people clapping are my students, and I paid them. 2 A's and $50. I'm going to go right in and begin reading without much preamble. The names that you hear at the beginning of the first poem are the names of African peoples brought into the Louisiana Territory as slaves. I will say also one more thing. I lied. I will say also that during the French and Spanish regimes in colonial Louisiana, slaves who attempted to escape and were caught were decapitated and their heads jammed atop huge poles which were strung out along the route which they had taken in their attempts to escape. The head of Luis Congo speaks. Congo, Tiamka, Kolongo, Matinga, Bambara, Nago, Senegal, Creole. I am the head of Luis Congo, and I speak for him, lying burnt and rotting in some farmer's field. And you may chant and shout and dance about your bonfires on the levees and drink your aguardiente till you burst, drink up until your eyes shine liquid, and you will never have the vision that he had, will never see the world as he saw. What are you in the end but a wretched lot of slaves? The lot of you, slaves in an alien land under the rule of a pale, slight, and ghostly and alien man. You laugh, you drink, and for a moment your pain is gone. But I am here to tell you it is not over. 1,000 betrayals hound you among even those of you dancing on this very water. It is not over. He is only dead. He is not yet through with you. The head of Luis Congo cries out for water. Agua, agua, agua. If there is among you any Congo man, any man with but a grain of pity in his soul, give me a drink of water as I die. But look, look, they cry out in their festive voices. The head of Luis Congo, it speaks, it begs a drop of water. The head of the great murderer, our torturer, the head of Luis Congo cries out for water. The head of Luis Congo weeps. Olorum, bonje, mystère. Here am I at the crossroads of death and life. I look out across a standing water to the land of the dead, Pemba, where I cannot enter whole and weep. Oh, Banza Congo, where are you now? I look and look, but I do not see. Oh, Banza Congo, I search, but I cannot find out the streets of my ancestors, nor any relative to receive me. Oh, holy mountain, high ground of my striving, source of every drop of blood upon my severed hands, what is to become of me, wasting in some petty farmer's field, severed, rotting, burnt almost to ash. O sacred mountain, is this the doing of my two hands, and where are they now? Olorum bonje mystère, how am I fallen now that my head is mounted on high? The head of Luis Congo calls for his medicine. O great God, good God, where is my healing powder, the balm to soothe, to cleanse, anoint, and calm my head, my heart, my two strong severed hands, crushed beyond recognition and burnt to solid ash? Bonje olorum, do not let the dogs, the crow, the beasts of the field, do not let them feed upon me. Mystère, where now is my little pouch, my paquet médecin, my healing bag? Where now are my banganga de mystère, who cleaned my head and heart and hands and told such great things for my life? Where is my little bag, my faith, my medicine from this evil day? The head of Luis Congo confesses his silence. Silence, all of you, silence. I tell you, I am the head of Luis Congo, and I speak for him. Enough, enough, enough. Bonzo Congo rises in the distance now. She rises, but I cannot see her heights. She rises, but my ashen feet cannot find her golden paths. She rises, and I stand on high, blinded to the glory I have set before my ways. Enough, then it is true. I have killed, I have captured, I have tortured, and when I could not kill or capture, I maimed as best I could. At my hands, at my very words, men, women, children, the aged and those with child, fell down in heaps along the waters of the bayou. Many a soul from many a nation did I send on the watery Pemba way. My pockets, my house, even my bed were lined with gold, white gold, yellow gold, the gold of earth's roses, and with every golden death among you, my house of gold rose higher and higher, nearer and nearer the land of the ancestors, and I became every day closer to their way. And all of you, Congo men and mongrel nations alike, all of you lived with a very intimate fear of my good killing hand. It is all of it, most certainly true. The head of Luis Congo has his little say. Congo, Tiamka, Matinga, Kolongo, Bambara, Senegal, Negro, Creole, and more. It is a good thing to live in fear of a mighty man. It is a good thing to cross the water of death, being sacrificed on the altars of the king. I came as you came, a minor man, crossing not one but two deathly waters, and with every one of your heads, the gold in the seams of my pants, the gold in the posts of my house, the gold in the four corners of my field, the gold between the jambs of my mulatta, the gold in the waters beside my great house grew and paved the road ever higher to my greatness. And what if I made myself a king? This is a strange man's land, a nether man's land, and it is a good thing to be hated and feared, is it not, in a nether man's land? It is true, it is true, it is true. I captured and I killed and I did not look back, and now I am captured and killed and cannot see farther. But I did not take from you your healing medicines. I did not take from you your human qualities. I sent you, every one of you, whole to the ancestors, and now you stand behind the walls of blessed Bonzo Congo, laughing in your teeth, cursing the demise of a mighty man who helped you from your lowly life bondage along the great Pemba way, a curse for the peace you have in that great city, and I languish. The head of Luis Congo begs a favor. I am the head of Luis Congo, and I have one small request from him. If you cannot bend to give me back my medicine bag, then burn it with my ashes. If you cannot lift up my eyes from where they droop along my cheeks, if you cannot lift them so that I can see the great God, so that I can see the great city I will never enter whole, I tell you, I am the severed head of Luis Congo. I speak for him. In the name of the fear and hatred you once knew of me, give me, please, I beg of you, a bit of your cool, fair water. Luis Congo was a free Congo man, a free African man who lived in New Orleans in the 1700s, 17 teens and 20s. He was the official executioner of slaves attempting to escape the city of New Orleans by way of Bayou St. John. And that poem is an attempt to reconcile the goals and aims of this free African man. And Blessed Banza Congo is the Congo kingdom of the dead, where we return upon death. We go back to our family, our village, our tribe, our kingdom. The next poem is called Faubourg. The Faubourg is a city within the largest city, and the women walk in pairs and clusters, moving along the slave brick streets wearing print dresses, carrying parcels on their hips or heads. Within the small city of the Faubourg, there is always work to be done, rooms and yards and laundry to see to, and always some trouble to be put to rest, burdens to be shifted from an arm to a hip, from a hip to the head. There are children to be scolded and sung to. There are wares to call out, to sell or buy or search for at market. And along the narrow banquets leading there, a cook, a seamstress, a day's work woman to find or be found. There are chickens to feel and buy and get their necks wrung, palm oil to buy and sell, palm wine, hot sweet potato pies, and there are blues to be sung or heard above the trees and rooftops, all hours of the day and night. The dead must be mourned and sung over, and prayers told them to carry to the other side. The dead must be chanted and marched to their tombs, and the tombs then tended and the dogs kept away. Yata leaves must be dried and woven into belts and baskets. Rags must be burned in sulfur to ward off mosquitoes, and slave brick crushed and scrubbed across doorways. There is love to be made, conjure to be worked, and quiet as it is kept, most anything can be done in the Faubourg. In such a city, what name is good for a woman? In such a city, what good is any woman's name? I'm going to read a student poem that I talked about with a student earlier today about stringing together experiences much later. When I was a little girl, my best friend was Marceline Marie Lyons. And Marceline had the one thing that I didn't have. She had sisters, and I had a brother. I tried to trade my brother for her sister, but she wasn't that interested. And anyway, she had two sisters. One was old and married and boring and had two sons and a husband in a car with 4 doors and all that stuff. She was a social worker, blah, blah, blah. The other one was hip, and she was a college student. She was attending Southern University in New Orleans. And she was the one who taught us about music and about Nina Simone. The Evening News, a letter to Nina Simone. A wail, a whoop, a line brought back from nowhere. Deep violet of memory stored up against hard times coming. We were righteous then, experienced in things we had not seen, but always knew would pass this way. We had righteousness on our side. They say you stood before a small audience in New Orleans last year and abused them for their smallness. Not just their numbers, but their looks, their soulless way of sitting and waiting to be entertained. They told me how you stood there and cursed them good, told me how they took it for the sake of all they used to be so long ago they never could forget, could only say, like the old folk when cornered perhaps said, I disremember. I asked them what you wore. I remembered the years I struggled with the very private fear that I would remain a child forever and miss all that was major in our one moment of glory. Even a child knows there is one such moment, one. Even I had sense enough to see you and not weep. Even a child then understood the words sister, brother, people, power. And anyone could see we were all the evening news. And hear you sing. At least that was what they called it. It was my best girlfriend's sister who came upon us closed off in her bedroom, laughing over her cosmetics, her jewelry, her sex, her TV. And instead of sending us out, leaned there in the doorway and smiled, "You two know so much. Want to be so grown and everything. Need to quit all that giggling and learn to listen to Nina." That was late autumn. Alitha came into her own bedroom and sat between us on the bed. She turned up the volume but did not change the station. We watched her and her college friends in dashikis and afros on the evening news. That year, Marceline and I listened close to the lyrics and the ways, the easy breaths and breathless lines, the underground silences of you and Roberta. We argued and sassed, slapped hands on our hips at the slightest provocation, and learned when and when not to apologize for it. Two brown girls acting out, mothers looking out over our heads that way they had then whenever we went so far we did not need to be told. We gave our telephone numbers to those boys with the hippest walks, the better grade of afro, the deep changing voices, and we never took their calls. We danced the sophisticated sisse, the thing, the shake, the go on, the soul strut. We counted our girlfriends, soul sister number 1, soul sister number 2. Marceline learned to cornrow, and I braided my older brother's bush each night. We were too much, and we knew it. We thought we understood it all. Deep violet, but that was years ago, and you were in your glory then. Then, while I was still younger than I knew or admitted and studying in south of France, I danced 4 nights out of 5 and all weekend, my arms on the hips or shoulders of some wiry brother from Cameroon or Ivory Coast, Senegal, Algeria, Panama, Martinique, one of only 6 or 7 young black women at university among the dozens and dozens of dark men who circled us, weaving their weightless cloth, their heavy guard. Escorted when I would have been alone, fed when I had no hunger, driven when I lacked a destination, protected from the mere possibility of danger, and danger to them we knew meant Frenchmen, white men. Courted and cosseted and danced into sleeplessness. You will be old one day, sister, then you will sleep fine. But their hearts, the dark, wiry hearts of the brothers, were in the right places. The foolish one said, "You are like women of my country," and feigned weaknesses no one would believe they ever even remotely had known, and often enough had the immediate good sense to laugh at themselves and grin at the rest of us. But the others did something like waiting, danced endlessly, and at the end of an evening said, "I have this sister, this Nina. Play some for my sister here, man. Man, get up and put on that Nina Simone." And we sat in the silence in the dark as one found the shiny vinyl and put the needle to the darker groove. We sat choked with Roman cigarettes, too much dancing, too much good food. We sat listening and did not touch. We looked at one another's hands and read recognition there. One day we would be old. We would sleep and no longer know one another. We sat into the night until we grew hungry again and sick from the stale air. We listened, we wailed, we did not touch or bow down our heads, and that is the meaning of the word expatriate. If you live right, if you live right, if you live right, but what has living done for you? I heard your voice over the radio late one night in Cambridge telling how you never meant to sing. Whoever interviewed you hardly said a word. He asked his questions and you took your time. You breathed long breaths between phrases, your speaking voice lighter and less lived in than I remembered. You sang a line or two and talked about your life. I asked my question directly into the speaker. What the hell did living ever do for you, girl? I sat on the floor and drank my coffee. I paced the carpet between your pauses. I pulled my nightdress up in both hands and danced, but I got no satisfaction that night. And for what it matters, heaven did not come to me either. Don't talk to me about soul. Don't tell me about no damn soul. Years and years and years of all night long and where are you and making time and doing right. Expatriate years, years, woman, years, where were you? And then you sang Fodder on My Wings with not a note of holy in your voice. And what could I do? A young woman, I put myself to bed. It was the following year that you cursed them down in New Orleans, dragged for them like muddy water. I listened to the story on the telephone or looked into the faces I came on in the streets. What, I asked them, did she wear? And do you think they could tell me? All I asked the people was, what did the woman have on? And what about it? If your country's full of lies, if your man leaves you, if your lover dies, if you lose your ground and there is no higher ground, if your people leave you, if you got no people, if your pride is hurting, if you got no pride, no soul, if you're living in danger, if you're living in Mississippi, Baltimore, Detroit, if you walk right, talk right, pray right, if you don't bow down, if you're hungry, if you're old, if you just don't know, please, please, outside of you there is no place to go. These are the expatriate years. These, what is left. The people dragged their sorry asses out to see you and you cursed them. You looked out into their faces, those you could see, and accused them. You called them down for all those years. You sang the songs you sang when you were younger and you made them pay. And then, Deep Violet, and a longer time no one will speak of. Dear Nina, I want to say to you how we did not mean it, how we did not mean to give you up, to let you go off alone that way. I want to say how we were a younger people, all of us, but none of it is true. We used you, and we tossed what we could not use to the whites, and they were glad to get it. We tossed you out into such danger and closed our eyes and ears to what was to become of you in those years, deep, deep violet. And worst of all, we did not even say your name. We ate you like good hot bread, fresh from the table of an older woman, and then we tossed the rest out for scavengers. Does it matter? Does it matter when and how we did it to you? Does it matter we got no righteousness from it, that we felt no shame? Does it matter we took all good things in excess then, not only you, but all things? Does it matter we sometimes return to you now, in the back rooms of childhood friends, forgiven lovers? Does it matter this is no gift or tribute or right or holy thing, but just a kind of telling, a chronicle to play back against those images that never quite made it to the evening news? How cursed, how sorry a mess of people can we be, Nina, when outside of you, there is no place to go.